got till 10:30, right, Joe? Right. As long as they'll stay, huh? Make them pay double. Fix and put a healing on them. My name's Heidi Jo M. I'm an alcoholic. Hey, y'all, it's truly by the grace of God and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous that I have not had a drink since November 22nd of 1990, and for that I'm extremely grateful. I'm nervous, or y'all? Y'all should be, because I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. My home group is the Brady Group of Alcoholics Anonymous, and this year we celebrate 70 years of Alcoholics Anonymous in our little bitty town. I noticed that Biloxi does too. That's so impressive, right? What a wonderful thing to be a part of, to have that legacy, to be able to participate in something that's so special, that helps so many people, and I'm extremely grateful. I'd like to thank Kathy for asking me to come speak, I think. Y'all have all been so nice to me, and my husband and my friends Greg and Lynn came with us from McDade, Texas, and Tammy's been an excellent host, and Trampus has told me a bunch of cool stories. And thanks for the speaker basket. That was really nice. I don't know who knew I liked Butterfingers or Baby Ruths, but I ate every one of them last night before I went to bed. Thank you for that. So much for my sugar-free situation. That was blown last night. Darius and James and Patty and Gary, just fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and just really appreciate that. I wish I was already done, and I hope that at some point I start breathing properly, because right now I think I'm going to have a heart attack. I was born and raised in Collin County, Texas, a little small town named Frisco, and had a pretty good family. There's a lot of drunks in my family, and today I'm grateful that I know what alcoholism is and that there's a solution for it. I came into AA at 23 years old, and I believed that I really couldn't be an alcoholic because I was young. I was a woman. I hadn't been married 18 times like some of y'all. I didn't have a DWI. I hadn't been to prison. I was extremely friendly and had a lot of boyfriends, but I didn't think that made me alcoholic. I just thought that made me personable. And I didn't understand what alcoholism was. I didn't understand that because my daddy was a drunk, right? And he run around on my mama, and I swore that I would never be like him. I was not going to be like my daddy. I was not going to do it. And when I walked into Alcoholics Anonymous, I did it for a dishonest reason. I'm so grateful they changed our traditions to a desire to not drink instead of an honest desire to not drink, because I did not have an honest desire to not drink. I did not introduce myself as an alcoholic for the first 6 months of my sobriety. I had read your traditions, and I'm kind of bright, and I'm also a con, so I also knew that if I said that, hi, I'm Heidi, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, y'all couldn't kick me out. So think about that when you got folks coming up in your meeting and they don't know yet, because what they need is the information of what the disease of alcoholism is. It's not about how many men I was married to or slept with. It's not about how many car wrecks I was in or how many times I was arrested. It's about that relationship that I have with a bottle of booze. And I loved whiskey. God, I loved whiskey. It did things for me that none of you fellas could have ever done for me. Ever. It made me taller and prettier, and it made me come from the right side of the tracks instead of the wrong side of the tracks. I could dance better, and I was funnier. I mean, hell, I'm funny now, but I was funny, right, when I was drinking. And I like the part in Bill's story where it talks about, he says, I have arrived. And the very first time I drank alcohol, I was 16 years old, and I knew exactly what Bill meant when I read that in his story. Because it changed me. It made me whole. It was my first spiritual experience. When you look at the triangle of our circle and our triangle, our symbol of Alcoholics Anonymous, I mean, if you've been at AA long enough, you've seen it. Unity, recovery, and service. And I wasn't quite sure what that meant until someone showed me. I have a threefold disease of the body, the mind, and the spirit. And Alcoholics Anonymous provided me a threefold solution. The 3 legacies of Alcoholics Anonymous supplied me the solution to my drinking. I got this body that when I take a drink, even though I don't want to, my body demands another. It sets up this phenomenon of craving where I have to have another drink. And I don't want to because my parents will be mad, or he'll be mad, or I can't pay my light bill, or I can't pay my rent, or there's not enough gas in my car, or I keep coming to and my car's got dings on it that I'm not quite sure what happened, right? And I think there's something wrong with me. So I try some controlled drinking, like switching. See, I didn't think that, controlled drinking was you just put it down and leave it. No, it's like, well, I'll go to this other club. It'll be different over there. Or he's cute and he's new and he's married. Let's try him, right? It'll be different this time. It'll be different this time. I moved 7 times in the last 2 years of my drinking because this apartment or this city will be different for me. That's controlled drinking. It talks about that ad infinitum, that list that we can increase, right? These are the ways I tried to control. If I can just drink this type or this brand or over here, it'll be different. So I've got this sick body that demands another drink, and Alcoholics Anonymous says, come on in to this house. Bring your body. Join the fellowship. That's what this is today. This is the fellowship. I've met so many nice people, got so many hugs, so many people that said, oh, God, I hope the 8 o'clock speaker don't suck. Me too, right? So y'all loved up on me, right? I was pretty sure, I can't remember who it was because I'm nervous, but it said, the speakers this weekend have said, I was pretty sure they were drinking in the parking lot and not inviting me. Everybody was so happy. Everybody was so happy. And I'm like, they're doing a little something in the back, not inviting me. How dare they? I had an immediate resentment about how excited and friendly all y'all were when I first got here. I was trying to be good, I came into Alcoholics Anonymous for him. First, I kind of came through the doors of Al-Anon, okay? I tried some controlled drinking through Al-Anon. I don't know if anybody's done that before, but I sat over in Al-Anon for a year and drove those women completely rabbit-ass mad, all right? And they kept trying to tell me, sweetie, didn't hear them. My husband went to a group called ODAT, One Day at a Time. In Plano, Texas, he was a member of AA there. And he asked me to go to Al-Anon. When you go to Al-Anon because my ex-wife wouldn't. Sure, because I got to look better than her, right? So I go over to Al-Anon, and in this group at ODAT, the Al-Anons met on one side of this big room, and the AAs met on the other, and there was this wall. And on that wall was a big, huge window. So the Al-Anons could sit in their Al-Anon meeting and look at their alcoholics and go, I see you. You better quit talking to her, right? And I would not go in the AA meeting. I'd walk by. You had to walk by the AA door, and it was always open because the coffee pot was right there in this little hallway. To get to the bathroom, I'd walk by, and I'd look at y'all and go, poor suckers. Can't drink. Bless their heart. My daddy's a drunk. That's why I'm here. My future husband's a drunk. That's why I'm here. Not because I was. I was going to Al-Anon. We moved, and we moved to this house and crossed the Metroplex, and I looked at Jim, because he was responsible for my happiness and somewhat my higher power, and I hadn't had an Al-Anon meeting in 10 days. And I said, listen, buddy, you need to find me an Al-Anon meeting. And so he did, because he was scared. He should have been. And he comes back to me, hat in hand, kind of scared like, right, and said, well, sweetie, I couldn't find an Al-Anon meeting, but I found an open AA meeting. Will you go with me? And I said, sure. Now, the man had told me, Heidi, I love you. I want you to be my wife. Isn't that romantic? here's the words that follow that. But you're an alcoholic. That's what he told me. And I was like, oh, no, I am not. You're the alcoholic. My daddy's the alcoholic. I am not an alcoholic. See, because I've been being good. Now, this is what good looks like for me. If y'all tried some controlled drinking, in our book on 44, it says to control and enjoy his drinking. Now, when I'm controlling my drinking, nobody is enjoying anything, okay? Because I talk like this. Sure, I'll take your kids to school. I'd love to. Mean and hateful. The book describes it in our doctor's opinion as restless, irritable, and discontented. And that's what I am when I'm not drinking and there's not a spiritual answer for me. In and of myself, I am the most miserable, agitated, violent human being on the planet. Don't give me a drink. Come on, I'm with you. So I walk into this AA meeting with you people. And I sat in the back because I had given up smoking for his kids, right? Well, see, here's the deal. It's the reason I did this, right? Because I liked living indoors with a man that didn't beat me, and his car was not stolen, and he had a job, okay? This is a step up from what I have been with, right? So I went to this AA meeting for him. And it's a pretty long group. It's the Grapevine Unity Group in Grapevine, Texas. And it's an old boy named Rod. He worked for American Airlines, sitting in the back. And he said, is there anybody here, like we all do, that has a desire to not drink one day at a time? Try this way of life. And I got up, and I walked 4,000 miles to the front. And Jim was sitting by me. And I got up, and I got this chip. And I come back, and my eyes were about this big, and Jim's was twice as wide. And I sat down and went, oh, my God, what have I done? Then I rationalized it and justified it that, hell, I'd been over there trying not to drink in Al-Anon, and they don't give you chips over there, so at least I'm getting a chip, right? And that's when I proceeded to say that I was a member of AA, because I didn't want to be, y'all. I didn't want to look at my drinking till somebody talked to me about what alcoholism was. I thought I did some shameful, what I believed unforgivable, tragic acts while I was drinking. And I made some decisions while out there in that few short years that I was drinking that I thought I would regret for the rest of my life. Many people have talked about it this weekend. Here's the deal. I don't have to have money to drink. Look at me, okay? And men are fools. I mean, y'all done the inventory. How many women you bought drinks for thinking, okay, something going to happen, right? I was her. I was willing. And being a drunk woman, I got myself into some trouble. And I went and took care of that trouble. But I wasn't smart enough, so I got in trouble again and took care of it again. And my drinking progressed so exponentially that I thought that I should die. Several people talked about suicide. It's hard for a drunk to kill themselves when they're drunk, unless by accident, because it relieves me. Bill talks about it. What's the use anyhow, right? Oblivion. Alcoholism kept me from killing myself. Praise God. That I had alcoholism, that I would drink so I couldn't go through with my thoughts. That shame that I lived with, that guilt that I lived with, I had to drink on. So when I walked into AA and y'all were talking all this God business, my mother took me to Sunday school and church until I ran away from home. I was like, I am out. And I would sit by my mama in church, and she would hear, washed in the blood of the Lamb. And I would hear, going to hell. Same message, same DNA, going to hell. So I just believed that there was no way to have this spiritual, I'm looking for the steps, this spiritual experience that y'all talked about, this relationship with God. All the stories in the back of our book are written to describe how our fellow members of Alcoholics Anonymous found and developed a relationship with a power greater than ourselves. Because here's the deal, folks, especially for you newcomers. You get God if you're an alcoholic, or your butt's a goner. You are a goner without some form of a relationship with a power greater than yourself. We don't have anything else to offer you here in Alcoholics Anonymous. So with someone like me that believes they can't have God because of the sins I've committed, and if you want to talk about the 10 Commandments afterwards, I will tell you how I coveted, how I murdered, how I did all those things and believed when I walked into AA, I can't have this. I went to psychiatrists, to psychologists. I went to tarot card readers. I had my palm read. I had some spiritual cleansing that I don't recommend, okay? I did some things to try to relieve the obsession for the drink, the obsession, which switches us. So I got this sick body, and I bring it to AA, and I fellowship with you, and you take me to coffee, and you take my inventory outside the meetings and tell me I'm going to, break out drunk if I don't do certain things. I mean, that's how y'all are, right? Girl, you're going to get drunk if you don't come to more meetings. Girl, if you don't get a sponsor, you're going to get drunk. I mean, everything. But see, I wanted to keep this man. So it wasn't an honest desire. I just like living indoors. Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, put a roof over my head, a big old fat ring on my finger. What's wrong with him, right? He must have been desperate. He was. I met his ex-wife. Both of them. So I bring my body to you guys. And while I'm there, y'all start to tell me that I have this mental obsession that if I don't get on with some recovery, if I don't get on with a sponsor and start working these steps, then this won't last. When I say by the grace of God, I believe that God gives me and all of us a grace period. You got a little short window to get your butt up in the middle of this deal. And if you don't, your brain's going to start telling you, your mind's going to tell you they're talking about you. You don't really belong there. It wasn't that bad. Your friends are doing it with impunity. It'll start talking to you, and it did me. I worked my steps. I brought my mind to the recovery process, that side of our triangle. And I brought my mind to that recovery process, and I still, after working my steps and making amends the best, my inventory was written in a bathroom with the doors locked on pink paper with a purple pen, okay? And it was terrible. What I know today, it was the most half-ass inventory ever written. But God gave me grace. And he gave me this ability to stay there. But my mind, the obsession kept happening. You're too young. You ain't as bad as them. After I'd worked my inventory, I've had 6, I'm on my 6th sponsor. There's some of you I know that have had these long, intimate, loving relationships with a sponsor. This is not my story, right? And so I had one sponsor that took me through 4 and then 5, and she got drunk. So I got another sponsor. And then after her, she was a single woman, I'm a married woman, and we moved to where I live today. But in that process, she's helping me. She's more about getting me to meetings, talking me out of the trees. I don't know about you. If y'all get up in the tree, right, and going to either shoot somebody from it like a sniper or just fall on the ground and kill myself. That's just how I was a crazy, crazy young sober person. I was so crazy in sobriety. And me and Jim had a fight. And I backed that Volvo out of that garage, because I'm suffering. I'm living in a nice house driving a Volvo, but it's bad. All right, my life is terrible. It's not my fault people are starving, it's terrible. And we have this fight, and I'm going to drink. Y'all know, it's the disease of the ethics. Heck with this. I'm going to drink. And I backed that thing out of the drive. And where we lived, you had to drive down this long hill about 4 miles to get out of the subdivision. Then you had to drive another like 8 miles to get to the Texaco station. It's about 11 o'clock at night because, they sell beer. I'm going to drink me some Coronas, and I'm going to buy my bud a pack of cigarettes. I'm going to smoke at him, too, while I'm drinking. And I whip that car into the parking lot. It's dark, and at the same time, a big white truck with about 5 Mexican day workers gets out right in front of me. And one of them gets to the door before I do. And he is drunker than a waltzing pissant. And he goes, "Here you go, pretty lady." And I looked at him, and that whiskey hit my face, and I just stopped dead in my tracks. And I said, "Thank you. Thank you." And I went in and bought a Diet Dr. Pepper and a pack of Capri menthol cigarettes. And I go back home, and I'm smoking at him. I'm not drinking, but I'm smoking at him. And I go to my noon meeting, and there's a man there, and his name was Blind Lon, because he was blind. And he smoked Marlboro Reds. And while I was sitting in there telling everybody how I kept myself sober, at the end of Amen of the Lord's Prayer, Blind Lon said, "Heidi," real loud. "Yes, sir." "Take me home." "Yes, sir." So he was the only person that smoked in my car because you just didn't tell somebody with 4,012 years of sobriety not to smoke in your car. And as we're driving to his house, he said, "So you kept yourself sober, did you?" "Yes, sir, I did. I didn't drink, but I wanted to, Lon. I didn't drink it. I said, it just ain't worth it." "Got power of the mind, do you?" "Yes, sir, I did. I just told myself I wasn't going to drink." He went, "Heidi, do you figure that God did for you what you could not do for yourself?" Damn it. "Yes, sir." And it was the first time in my sobriety, I was about 1.5 years, 2 years sober, that I realized God was in my life. I was so ashamed to pray that the first time I did it, the kids were gone to school, Jim was gone to work. I locked myself in that bathroom, got in the shower stall, and got on my knees and asked God into my life. I was so ashamed to even pray, so arrogant and egotistical to ask this power into my life. So I started taking my mind to the recovery process. And the obsession started to lift. Once I realized God was in there, I started to have that spiritual experience. That God would do for me what I couldn't do for myself. And it took some mean old-timer to tell me. I don't know what's happened to AA, but where I got sober at, they did not hesitate to take your inventory publicly during a meeting, especially if you were being an idiot in the meeting and talking out of turn. I can remember talking about having to make amends to my philandering, incestual daddy, and I didn't want to do it. I described cutting him up into parts and putting him in a food processor. I'm telling you, I'm a crazy, evil human being. And Steve, he was a roofer, slammed his hands on the table and told me to shut up. What in the heck did I think this was? Hunky-dory anonymous? Everybody's had to make amends. Shut up and make yours. I thought, well, that's pretty insensitive. And I had to make amends to that daddy. I got 2 of them. When I was 13 days old, my real daddy left my mama. And my mama, being back in the 60s, had to find her a man just as quick as she could to raise me. And so she picked the sorriest man. I'm not kidding that. He's not either. She picked her another alcoholic. The first one was my real father's alcoholic. The man that I called daddy that raised me is an alcoholic. And when I was about 2 years sober, my sister called me, my middle sister, to tell me that she had been sexually abused by our father her whole life until she left house at 17 and a half years old. And I didn't know. And I'm the oldest. I'm the protector, right? Because I am. That's my job. And about a week later, my great-grandfather died, my dad's grandfather. And so this situation where we hear in meetings, fear and faith can't occupy the same vessel, I don't have that experience because it can. And my sponsor told me, Heidi, this is your opportunity. You will see your father at this funeral. You must make an amends. Nope, not going to do it. I knew about me, but I thought I was the one because I'm the stepdaughter, right? Isn't that what society says about adoption and all that other kind of stuff, that this happens? Couldn't be my baby sisters. And it was. And I was so angry, and I was having vivid, horrific nightmares. And so I do what my sponsor says, and I can remember driving from where we lived to the funeral, the burial plot. It was about an hour away, and I don't know about y'all, but I love me some Led Zeppelin. I just love Led Zeppelin, and I always have it on. But I was so afraid, and I had the car so quiet, and I just remember praying, God, give me the words, give me the words. Help me do what everybody in AA has told me to do. Clear up my part, clear it up. Because I had done some things in my drinking that was embarrassing to him. It doesn't matter, I think our book tells us in the 9-step amends process, that it doesn't matter how much harm it's been done to you by the person, it's about your part. Clear up my part. So I went to him after the funeral, and he was a little lit, and he had on his aviator glasses, and he was a tall, beautiful man. I said, Daddy, can I have a few minutes of your time? Sure. He was real tacky. I said, Daddy, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous today, and I can't stay sober for good and for all unless I clear up the wreckage of my past, and I believe that I owe you amends for my behavior that has embarrassed you and harmed you. How can I make this right? And his words to me is, you're right, you are a bitch. And I said, Daddy, I love you. Thank you for your time. And I got back in that car, and I have not had a nightmare since, and I have been free. That is the power of good sponsorship. That is good sponsorship, to encourage me and tell me that she loved me and that I could do this. And I was bold and stout-hearted, and God had my back. Because not when I'm making amends, it's not just me. I'm asking God into this deal. Go with me. Go with me. So that was young sobriety. We moved to our town now. I got another sponsor, and she did some harmful things to her and her husband, to me and my family. And God sent this woman to my home group. She's my best girlfriend. Her name's Jackie. And Jackie said to me, Heidi, this ain't right. And I said, what ain't right? How they treat you's not right. And I went, really? I was like a puppet, because at one point, at 4.5 years sober, I went crazy, and I went to the nut house. It happens. It's called thinking you got this deal and you're all that in a bag of chips and you don't need God anymore. You kind of go nuts. And I thought I owed these people, because they helped me get into this facility with this man that was a member of AA, and he's dead now, Dr. Gene Seal, and he loved alcoholics, and he was one himself. And he helped me at this treatment center see my selfish and self-centeredness, see my insecurities, see my neuroses, and he's a good man. He threw that book at me, And I'm so grateful for that. And so I had been picking my sponsors, And I don't know if y'all have ever had one picked for you, but I have. There's this old woman over in Big Spring, Texas, and she is the meanest white woman I have ever met in my life. And so Jackie was like, "How do you need a new sponsor?" And I'm like, "I don't know, you know." And I hadn't been my whole sobriety but maybe 6 weeks without a sponsor. She goes, "You need a new sponsor." And I said, "I don't know who to get, Jackie," because we live in a really small area. To go to another meeting is 45 minutes to an hour away. And I said, "Well, I don't know." She goes, "I'm going to call Pew and ask her." So Pew said, "You need to tell her to ask Nelda Razier to be your sponsor." And I said, "I don't want Nelda Razier to be my sponsor. She acts like an Al-Anon." And Jackie said, "I don't know what to tell you, Heidi. If you don't like it, call Pew and tell her that you're not going to ask Nelda to be your sponsor." And I said, "Okay, I'll call Nelda and ask her to be my sponsor," because I was really scared of Pew. And this woman has helped me be married. She is the most loving, gentle, kindest soul I have ever met. She was sponsoring me for 4 years before I ever heard her say a cuss word. It's crazy, right? Because my God cusses too, Gary. And she's taught me so much how to be a loving wife, how to be in a partnership, and I didn't know how to do that. I'm extremely selfish and self-centered. Just because I'm not drinking doesn't mean that I don't want things my way. Every day, all the time. So I'm real grateful about that. It's been a great journey with her, and she has really helped me calm down. I hate it when people say, "Oh, Heidi, you're so calm now." I'm like, whatever, so boring. When Gary brought up about his God cussing, I had to laugh. I can't tell you how many women have been so afraid of God, and I tell them that my God cusses, and they're like, "Really? I can have a God that cusses?" Sure, right? So I can remember driving from our house to my husband's home group. I was going to go to a meeting over there in Brownwood, Texas at noon, and I was going to go shopping, right? There's a Walmart there. The Walmart. And so I'm driving, and there's this place called Mercury Hill, and it's this beautiful hill, and I'm driving up. I'm like, I don't know, 10 years sober, right? Everything's fine, man. It's springtime. I got the windows down, Zeppelin's on. I'm cruising, right? This is before XM. And so a commercial comes on for a local liquor store in Brownwood, Texas. And they are giving this stuff away, basically. I mean, I had enough money in my pocket to be drunk for the next 6 years for the prices they had on this liquor. And I got to fantasizing and romancing about it, blah, 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 blah. And the next thing I hear is, "Heidi, have you lost your effing mind?" And that was God. Because my response was, "Yes, I have." Because in and of myself, the natural thing for me to do is drink. The unnatural thing for me to do is not drink. A spiritual experience is required to be able to hear that still, small, cussing voice of God, right? And I had to go tell the people at Alcoholics Anonymous at the Brown Towner group that I had thought about drinking that day. That humbling thing of saying, I don't have this all together. My brain, the obsession of my mind, can still come back and play tricks on me. So it's a humbling thing for me to think, since I still have a problem with thinking I'm all that in a bag of chips, to be able to tell you people I still have the thought of taking a drink. I need to be able to tell y'all that. So at the end of step 12, it says, having had a spiritual awakening. And for me, that means for service, on the bottom side of our triangle service, that I am to take my awakened spirit and be of service to you people. Right? I take myself and say, there is hope of recovery from alcoholism. Because when I walked in, I just thought, it's not for me. When I talked about doing those things drunk, that I had so much shame for. When I was 9 months sober, I told my story for the first time because I would not shut up, and they figured I could take at least 45 minutes, right? I did not know what a general way meant at 9 months sober. And I shared specific details of the crimes committed and the shame and depravity that I had, that I had done. But what happened after I shared is a line of women lined up and said, I did that too. I didn't think that I could be free of that shame. And I knew that God will, on page, I believe it's 114. Let me read it so I don't screw this up. Oh, that's not it. 124. Henry Ford once made a wise remark to the effect that experience is the thing of supreme value in life. That is true only if one is willing to turn the past to good account. We grow by our willingness to face and rectify errors and convert them into assets. The alcoholic's past thus becomes the principal asset of the family, and frequently it is almost the only one. Cling to the thought that in God's hands, the dark past is the greatest possession you have, with the key to life and happiness for others. With it, you can avert death and misery for them. So I go from powerless, and powerless don't mean I can't drink. Let me get that pretty clear. Powerless means I'm gonna. Powerless means I am going to take a drink. If you think you're powerless because you can't drink, you ain't drink enough. Go out and prove you know how to drink. Because, I took to it like a duck to water. I knew how to drink the first time I drank. I know today I drank alcoholically. The phenomenon of craving kicked in, and I drank it like Kool-Aid, right? One after the other. So today, about being powerless, you get to that 12th step, and God gives you just enough power to help somebody else. That's what we're supposed to do. Carry this message to other alcoholics. I sponsor 10 women, probably about 8 too many. And because they all call, I'm grateful. I don't get a lot of new people. I get a lot of people that have time, that need to go back through the book. And it's a blessing to me. It is an absolute blessing, the women that God puts in my life. So grateful for them. In my little group, there wasn't a lot of people doing a lot of things. I think you might have heard about the 5%ers. 5% of the people do the 100% of the work in your group. You know, how many group consciences you've been to, and you want to kick about half of them's butt, right? Y'all ain't going to enough group conscience, right? Come on. And God started sending some people to our group that have had a spark of enthusiasm lit upon them, and I'm so grateful for them, so grateful for the men and women that God sent to my little group. It's pretty much a blessing. Today, what I'm like today, I hope I shared in a general way what I was like, what happened to me, and what I'm like today. Somebody put horse herder on the flyer. I think that was you, wasn't it, Smarty Pants? Was that you? Mm-hmm. I do not have a college education. I drank myself out of a college. I had a chance to be a walk-on in a basketball team at North Texas State University in Denton, Texas, and I drank myself right out of that. And I drank myself right out of college. I started out my first semester with a 3.8 from a little old bitty school. I graduated with 69 people. I used to say when I talk that I graduated 10th in my class, because I did. But I like y'all to assume that there was 5,000 of them, and I was really, really smart. There was only 69, and half of them rode the short bus. So I'm not that smart. And I drank myself out of college, and I got home, and I had that 3.8 on my report card, and my mama wanted to know why I didn't make a 10. And I said, well, heck with this, right? And I found some of my like-minded people that like to drink, so I joined a fraternity. I was a little sister at a fraternity because why would I want to be around a bunch of women? I'm sitting on a gold mine. It don't work for them, right? So, did that just hit some of y'all? Don't ever have to have money to drink. That's why you need a higher power to keep you from doing it, ladies, okay? And Jim and I have been married for 26 years. Mm-hmm. Amazing, okay? I used to think that he was my knight in shining armor and he was perfect. And then I read the family afterwards and realized he was so sick he picked me. And then I was like, he ain't all that, right? Right? Got a little information out of the book, ladies, right here. Come on, it's right here. It'll keep you away from them scoundrels. But today he is my knight in shining armor. We have an amazing relationship. I am overwhelmed that I get to be married and have this life. I'm overwhelmed. I could not keep faithful to a cereal, much less a man. I mean, I just could not. I like to switch. You know, they were talking about switching scotch to brandy and what was that, Mad Dog 2020 and some Boone's Farm, okay, right? I drank everything. That's why I was sick and a professional puker when I was out there because I couldn't stick to one thing. I couldn't do that with men either. And it's just amazing to me that Alcoholics Anonymous has taught me how to be a good wife. You know, I've had these women, these sponsors in my life that have said, Heidi, put some clothes on, okay? I can remember being asked when I was new sober to go to this treatment center. And so I showed up in a pair of Daisy Dukes and a wife beater with no bra and some flip-flops and went to the treatment center and took a meeting. And I'm sitting in a meeting the next day and my sponsor walks in mad. I didn't know, because there's rat finks and Alcoholics Anonymous. And she pulled me outside and I said, what's wrong? What's up? She goes, we are no longer in a bar. I'm like, okay. I heard what you wore to the treatment center. Them guys in there didn't hear one word of the message. Don't you ever come to Alcoholics Anonymous showing more than 20% of your flesh. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Ma'am. It was Saturday. I was relaxed. So I've never come to AA without a bra on. Since then. So wonderful. So wonderful. I was a thief. I stole a lot of money from my grandfolks. And I went to make amends to them and pay their money back. And I knew where they kept their Social Security check and their money. They'd get it cash and bring home the money in a little bank envelope. And I would come home and steal that. I used their gas credit card to pay for massive amounts of parties from the Chevron at college. So I had to pay them back financially. And what was amazing is that when I was about 8 years sober, they asked me to be executor of their estate. So I went from a thief to trusted and loved by my family. And that's AA. So I didn't graduate college, and I went back and got my real estate license, and I found out I don't like people, and you have to kind of got to work with them when you're selling real estate, right? And when I want you to know how my God works. When I was 16 years old, B.F. Phillips, y'all probably don't know who he is, but he's in the Texas Hall of Fame, Quarter Horse Racing Hall of Fame. And he and his wife got a divorce, and she wanted her half, okay? And so he had to sell all of his horses to go through public auction. And they came to the high school and asked us cheerleaders to be ticket runners. And so all of us are sitting, and when a horse would sell, you'd have to go sign this ticket. The new buyer would have to sign this ticket, and I was in my element. I'm getting teary-eyed. I could not tell you how enthralled I was with the atmosphere and the horses and the cowboy hats and just all of it, the beer drinking while I was 16, all of it. And a horse called Queen for Cash, the full sister to Dash for Cash, sold for $1.3 million. And there was a gal that was about to run the ticket, and I said, "Can I run the ticket? Can I run the ticket?" And she said, "I don't care." And I took this ticket, and this guy signed it, and in my heart I said, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So then I continued to get drunk, and then that didn't happen. And Jim became very successful after we got married, and he was before, and then she took all of it. We were broke. And he became very successful about 2 years into our marriage, and we bought a ranch. And so we went and got some riding horses for the kids and all that. And I met this drunk that smoked weed with his horses. Happens a lot more than you know. And he went to shoe and trim these horses, and he said, "Hey, you want to buy a racehorse?" And I went, "Yeah, okay." So we go and we buy this racehorse, and we win a little bit and he goes, "Hey, there's an auction. There's a horse sale in Fort Worth at, what is the name of it? Moody Coliseum." And so, Will Rogers, at Will Rogers. And I get there, and Jim lets me buy this horse trailer. It's now my cattle trailer. It's about to fall in. It's all rusted. This is POS, right? And he handed me $13,000 and said, "Don't you buy more than 4," because I had a 4-horse trailer. I spent 14 and bought 5 and crammed them on the trailer. And me and this guy go to trying to raise these horses, and he gets to messing me over. But we bought this one colt, and this colt was pretty special. Just everything, his physicality, his mental acuity, was a smart colt, and everybody that saw him loved him. And so Jim's doing some research. I am at the barn shoveling horse poop, and it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And he's doing research on how he's going to get his money back, right? Too late. And he finds this colt's mama in Louisiana. And we buy this colt and this mama, and she's pregnant, and she has this baby. And I'm standing there sober in my car. She was going to have this baby, and I would get in my car, and I'd turn the lights on. She's still standing up. I'd cut the lights off. I cut the lights on, and I cut the lights off. It took me about 4 days before she had the baby, and I was up all day with this mare for 4 days. And she had that foal, and I was there, and it changed my life. Changed my life. It was just like, happy joy is free, right? And so that's what I've been doing for a long time now, over 20 years. I wear this dress, but I'd rather have on jeans and some boots or some tennis shoes and an old scruffy shirt. I'd rather be at the barn, but I wear this dress because somebody will call my sponsor and tell her I didn't. It's the only reason. And besides, I want y'all to know that I look like and act like, and I am a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous in good standing, right? To show other ladies that you can be foul-mouthed, just not behind the podium. No, don't tell your sponsor that I said that. And so that's what I do for a living today is I raise thoroughbred race horses, and I prepare athletes for the track. And I'm a sales agent at public auction, and I sell yearlings and weanlings and mares and sometimes stallions. And it's just wonderful. It's killing me. It hurts my bank account, but I'm happy when I'm doing it. I'm in my element. And from 16 years old, and I'll be 50 in May, God knew what I wanted, and He will give it to you. You just got to put the footwork in. You just got to put the footwork in. Well, it just took 9 o'clock, and I just want to say thank you guys so much. And also to remember the circle and the triangle. our threefold disease, our threefold legacy. Bring your body to the fellowship, guys. Hang out with us. Take your mind to the recovery process, and it will produce a spiritual experience where you can help others. And I'm going to tell you my story, okay? Since I'm the horse herder, all right? So there was this couple. They were normal in every way, and they had twins. They were identical twins, except for one thing. Their personalities were stone opposite. One was a total optimist, everything was wonderful, and one was a total pessimist, everything was terrible. And so they, as normal people do, they took their kids to the shrink. And so the shrink said, tell you what, I understand your dilemma, leave them here with me. Leave them here, come back in 2 hours, and I hope to have a solution for your dilemma. They said okay and left their 9-year-old little girls there. And what the doctor did is he put this pessimist in a room full of every little thing a 9-year-old girl would want. Toys and candies and video games and dollies and shoes and dress up. And she was in there. And he said, you just stay right there for 2 hours and I'll be back. And she said, all right, whatever. Right. Then he took this optimist little girl, this 9-year-old little girl, and bet a room this size. And in the middle of this room was this huge pile of horse poop. Just this huge pile of horse poop, right? And he said, you just stay there, and I'll be back in 2 hours. And she said, okay, great. So 2 hours later, he comes back to the pessimist and says, how was it? She said, I hated every minute of it. The dolly broke. The candy made me sick. I just can't stand it. I want to go home now. He took his little notes like shrinks do, right? And he goes into the room with the optimist and the horse poop. And there is no longer a pile. It is slung all over the wall. She's got it in her hair. She's covered in it. There's no longer a pile. It's just poop everywhere. And he says, how was that? What did you think? She goes, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And he said, well, sugar, why is that? And she says, well, I figured with all this horse poop in here, there had to be a pony somewhere. So in AA, no matter what's going on, no matter what your head is, find somebody or ask God to help you find that pony. That's all I got. Thanks.
Great job. You're welcome.